Hey guys, so today I'm going to be reviewing Rapture Practice by Aaron Hartzler. This is a YA non-fiction memoir slash autobiography. Aaron Hartzler is the author who wrote What We Saw, which is a YA contemporary that I really enjoyed. It's a really important, hard-hitting one. But yeah, this is his story about growing up in a Christian family. They were very, very strict, so to the point where they weren't allowed to watch TV or go to movies or listen to any music except this one particular Christian radio station. Aaron wasn't allowed to read GQ magazine because apparently that was inappropriate. So yeah, it's all about how growing up in that kind of family has shaped Aaron and how he dealt with that as a young person. Firstly, let me address that this cover is a different one. This isn't the one that you see on Goodreads and stuff like that, so I'm not sure what edition this is. It's hardcover, but there is another cover which I'll insert a picture of over here that has a subheader that just the subheader I think is a little bit misleading because it focuses in on one aspect of the story, which is like vaguely kind of dealt with but not explicitly. Like, this isn't all it's about. So the subheader says a true story about growing up gay in an evangelical family. I don't know how to pronounce that word because I'm not super familiar with it, but I just wanted to point that out because that subheader isn't necessarily actually what the story is about. There's no point in this story where Aaron actually comes out to his family or anything like that, so there's nothing specifically about being gay in Christianity because it's not something that he actually deals with. It's something that he kind of has an inkling of, and that comes across really well in this book, but he is young, you know, and it's not something that he had addressed at this point in his life. So he kind of like vaguely alludes to it, but it's not essentially that's not what like the story is about. So just thought I'd clear that up because I know a lot of people would read it based on that subheading and be kind of disappointed if you were looking for that subject specifically. Firstly, I want to say that the writing in this is absolutely flawless. I kept forgetting that it was non-fiction and like an autobiography because Aaron wrote it in such a fantastic way. It just read like a YA contemporary. It was amazing. Yeah, it's really weird to me because I had kind of an issue with the dialogue in What We Saw. It didn't feel particularly authentic to me, but the dialogue in this is amazing. All the scenes just flowed seamlessly from one to the next. There is a bit, you know, it's chronological. It starts off in Aaron's like very early childhood when he's like 4 years old or something like that, and it goes on up until he's about 18 years old, finishing high school. Most of it though focuses on the time when he's around like I would say 16 to 18, like that period of his life. So for me that's the most appealing years out of someone's youth, the late teenage years. So I'm glad it focused on that. It was an emotional read. It was really, really funny in parts as well, and it was also immensely frustrating because I think you just get frustrated on Aaron's behalf when people aren't really listening to him or they're not understanding where he's coming from and things like that. So I think it's, you know, a book's really well written when it can make you feel those emotions on someone else's behalf. There's one scene that I want to talk about in here where Aaron mentions that he got hit by a deer in his car, and I just thought that was so funny because in Gilmore Girls there's a scene where Rory in her car gets hit by a deer and no one believes her, and it's like a very similar scene that plays out, and I just thought that was really funny because I like that. It also mentions Dorian Gray, which I found really weird because Every Exquisite Thing, which I read last week and reviewed, that mentions Dorian Gray as well, and I read Dorian Gray this month, and then I read that book, and then I read this book which also mentions Dorian Gray. I was just like, this is really weird. It's like bookception or something, I don't know. I would say as well that although it focuses obviously on growing up in a Christian family, I think anyone could read this and take something away from it. I don't think your religion would necessarily matter because I think everyone can relate to it in some way, regardless of what you believe in or how much you believe in it, because this has different degrees of belief in it as well. And Aaron's family was kind of at the extreme end, and then he had friends who were Christian but not their families weren't like as strict as his was, even though they had the same beliefs. I read this straight after I had finished reading I Am Malala, which obviously focuses a lot on the Muslim religion, and there are similarities that you can draw between how people interpret religious texts and things like that. Aaron's upbringing was like vastly different to my own. My parents were very different to Aaron's parents, but I did know people that had similar upbringings to Aaron's, and so it kind of reminded me of that, of like being a child and realizing that everyone's family is different, and if you go to someone's house for a sleepover, you don't know what the rules are going to be and things like that because people live differently, and that's something you kind of realize when you're a child, and this book deals with that a lot because Aaron experiences like you know, his different friends, families and stuff like that, and being in like disbelief about how different they are from his own parents and how his parents' way isn't necessarily the only way to live. It also, because it's dealing with religion, I feel like it deals with the idea of doubt and how a lot of people kind of second guess everything they know once in a while, and it's comforting in that way because Aaron doesn't really know what to believe in, even though he feels like he should. It's about being yourself but also believing in yourself and love in general, accepting people for who they are, including accepting yourself for who you are. So I highly recommend this book. I can't recommend it enough. I think if you like YA contemporary, you'd really enjoy this. If you like autobiographies in terms of like non-fiction, I think you would really enjoy this. If you enjoy discussing religion, I think you would enjoy this regardless of your beliefs. So I highly recommend this. I gave it 5 stars. It's probably honestly the best non-fiction book that I've ever read in my life because it was so fantastically well written. The subject matter was really interesting and I just really enjoyed this. So I highly recommend it. Please let me know if you've read it, what your thoughts were in the comments down below, and if you are going to pick it up, let me know that as well because it's really good. I got this out from the library, but I'm definitely going to be buying my own copy because I loved it. So thank you guys for watching this, and I'll see you in a couple days with another video. Bye.